Hello and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Friday, February 10th, 2017, and this is episode 5. My name is Carol and I live in the beautiful Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, not too far from Vancouver. You can find me as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, that's capital KNITSNPURLS. If you're interested in anything that I talk about on the episode, you can find that information in my show notes. They can be found at astitchintimepodcast.blogspot.ca. I've started a Ravelry group for the podcast. You can find it by searching A Stitch in Time Podcast. Love it if you came by, introduce yourself in the welcome thread, or tell us what's going on in your life in the chatter thread. Hoping it will one day become a thriving community. Right now it's off to a bit of a slow start, but it's a new podcast and I know it takes time for things to catch on. I'd like to, on that note, thank you everyone who's taken the time to send me a message on Ravelry or join our Ravelry group, comment in the thread, leave me a comment on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. All of that is so encouraging, and I know there are a lot of podcasts to choose from, so I'm very flattered that you've taken the time to spend some time with me. One person in particular, her name is Lucky Jenny. Lucky Jenny knits on Ravelry, and she has a podcast. She started it back in August. She lives in Richmond, Virginia. So I've had an opportunity to watch the first episode, and I look forward to viewing her one since. So if you're looking for a new podcast, I would recommend it. Thanks again, Jenny, for saying hello. So let's get to today's episode. The segments will include what I'm wearing, some works in progress, let's see, a blast from the past. I did some cross stitch this week. I have some acquisitions, talk a little bit about what I'm reading, and then I'll tell you about my crazy week here. So sit back, maybe grab a cup of tea or coffee, some knitting, and let's chat. Just going to grab a quick sip of tea myself in my Downy Woodpecker cup. This is in honor of all the birds that have been visiting my feeder this winter. It's been especially busy this week. I have about 6 of these cups with all different birds. I love my bird feeders, so I enjoy seeing them on my cups too. So, what am I wearing this week? Well, if you've tuned in to the first 3 episodes of my podcast, you'll recognize my Alpine Sunset shawl by Helen Stewart. It's knit from Knit Picks Tweed in the North Pole Heather colorway. And it's a lovely soft yarn. It features chevrons that look like mountain peaks. And then I think this picot edge looks really lovely. Reminds me of a snowflake. So in light of our wintry weather, I thought it would be an appropriate shawl, scarf to wear today. So what have I been working on? Well, my first work in progress are my Nelson cabin socks. Just grab them here. Oh, there goes my other project. This is a ribbed sock that I actually developed or designed myself a few years ago. I first knit them for my brother-in-law while I was on holiday in Nelson Cabin on a golf course. Oh my goodness, so tangled here. That's the danger of setting up beforehand. Oh dear, they're really tangled. That's okay. You get the idea. It's basically an alternating 3x1 and 1x1 rib sock. I think I'm gonna, once I'm done, I'll take some nice pictures and write up the pattern, just put it up for free on my Ravelry page. The yarn is Drops Fable long print in Ocean View, or color 604. I think I've got the tag here I can show you. Do you say fable or fable? I'm not sure. I usually say Fable. And then there's the colorway number. So yeah, these have been really good socks. I mostly work on these when I watch TV in the evening with my husband. It's a nice, more or less mindless pattern, except I do find sometimes I purl in here when I should in it, or, you know, so I've had to pick back, you know, ladder down a few times to fix a stitch. But in general, they're pretty relaxing to work on. I don't have to pay too much attention, so that's nice. So those are coming along nicely. I would like to finish them in time for his birthday on February 27th. We'll see how things go. Life sometimes gets in the way, as you know. So let's see. I'm just going to tuck them down here and pick up the project I dropped. Boy, it's a good one today, huh? So I started my Love Letters socks for the Grocery Girls February Sock Bash knit along. Last week I showed you the pattern. It's by Irish Girly Knits. Just get the chart out of the way. Features a lovely lace and cable design that runs down at the foot, part of the foot, and then on the cuff. So I'll show you. Last week I wasn't sure which yarn. I thought I might go stash diving again. I had picked out a couple of yarns I thought I might use for my February socks, but I was worried they'd be too busy for this pattern, so I was going to go stash diving and find something else. But in the end I decided to go with one of my first choices, which is Koigu KPPM in the imaginative color of P306. And I don't think it's too busy after all. So here's the lovely pattern. I've really enjoyed working on these. It's intuitive, and yet they're interesting and not too difficult at the same time. So as you can see, the pattern runs down the whole foot, but only on half of the sock. You actually do several repeats for all the way around for the cuff, and then you knit the rest of this side in stockinette. And so this is the right sock, so that patterning will go on the outside of the foot, and then when you do the left sock, it will go on the opposite side. So there will be mirror images to themselves. I'm loving working with this yarn. I especially like when I get one of these areas that has the really dark burgundy type lines in it. I just love to watch the colors come up on this. It's really been very enjoyable. So these have seen a lot of love this week, as you can tell. So I have about 1 or 2 repeats left to go before I do the toe, and so I should be able to finish that this weekend and hopefully cast on sock number 2 while I'm at it. So really enjoying those. You'll notice there's no Lewin by Carol Feller this week. That's a pullover sweater I've been working on. And neither is there any Mr. Harley Quinn, which is a pair of socks I'm knitting, actually as part of the Very Busy Monkey January to March knit along, and also as part of our Agatha Christie along. I just got distracted by other things, but I'll get back to those very soon. I'll have them done definitely by the end of March, and who knows, maybe even by the end of February. That might be optimistic considering I've been working on these quite a bit. Okay, the next work in progress, look away if you don't want to be spoiled. It's the Snowmelt Shawl Mystery Knit Along by Helen Stewart. Clue 2 came out yesterday, and so I've been working on that quite a bit since then. Very fitting since our snow began the big melt yesterday. So I'll show you the yarns first. Color A, I'm using Post Yarn Cash Sock in the Pont Neuf colorway. And it's a beautiful variegated, almost speckly blue and white and little bits of turquoise and aqua in there. It's very pretty yarn. I love working with it. Color B, which actually didn't get used at all this week for this clue, is Stroll Blue Yonder Tonal. And it's a lovely turquoisey. It never comes up quite right on my screen. It's definitely more turquoisey than blue. And it has a lighter, kind of greeny tones that run through it. It matches the both yarns actually very well, but the color A has some of these light kind of greeny glacial type bits in them, or bits in it. And then color C is String Theory Caper Sock in the Laguna colorway. And it's a beautiful tonal. Again, it's hard to get the lighting right. This again has got a lot more turquoise to it in the lighter strands, and then a deeper blue for the darker ones. I sure wish it would come out how it really looks, because it's beautiful. I just love it too. And again, matches both of the other yarns really well. I'm really happy with my color selection. Okay, so here's the beginnings of Clue 2. We switched to some lace this week, and I have about 30% of my shawl knit all together. And I've done probably about 2/3 of Clue 2. So Clue 1 was all this striping that took place, and as you can see, Clue 2 has added some beautiful kind of chevron-y lace, alternating between garter sections of color A with little stockinette sections of color C. So as a whole, you can see it there. I'm anxious to see what happens with clue number 3. I suspect and hope that there'll be a little bit more of color B added in there. But I think this is turning out beautifully so far, and I really enjoyed working on it. The lace, you have to pay attention, but it's not too bad. So good thing I can read my knitting, because I've gotten to a certain, begun a new pattern row and gone, okay, things aren't lining up here. What did I do wrong? And I can go back and see, oh, okay, I missed a yarn over here, so I'll just, pick it up and ladder down a row and pick up a yarn over and stuff. So far so good. Not too many mistakes. If you recall, when I was working on this shawl, I missed doing all these garter ridges, wasn't paying enough attention. So this time around, I've made sure that I'm highlighting all these important things so that hopefully I won't mess up in that way anyway. And I'm purling when I'm supposed to be purling and knitting when I'm supposed to be knitting. So to this week's, one second, I'm just going to take another sip here. This week's Blast from the Past. Like last week's sweater, I found that I was actually using this sweater quite a bit. So I thought it would be a fitting blast from the past since I've actually been using it. This is called the Cabled Yoke Pullover. Has lovely cabled cuffs also. I knit this way back in January 2008. It's knit from Cascade 220 in the color 8505. As you can see, it's just a natural. The closest, I think this is the closest they have to white. And it's from the Peyton's book 500846 called Cables. What's significant about this sweater is it was while doing this whole yoke, which you actually knit in a long strip and then join together. You pick up here, knit your neck, and then you pick up along here, knit down for your sleeves and your body. So as I was doing this long, complicated braided cable and fiddling about with a cable needle, I thought, okay, there has to be a better way, because I was going crazy. So I had knit the Mr. Green Jeans cardigan prior to this. And even though I didn't use it at the time, it had included a tutorial for cabling without a cable needle. So I revisited that pattern and found actually it was quite simple to do, especially with a yarn that holds its stitches quite well and won't easily slip. The stitches won't easily slip and become unraveled. I found it actually very simple to do, and it's very, very rare now that I do cable with a cable needle. Sometimes if it's a really long cable, or if you need to put 2 stitches in the front and 2 stitches at the back, etc., you know, more complicated crossing, then I sometimes will throw a cable needle in there. But in general, I don't find that I need one, and it really has sped up my cable knitting. Anyway, this sweater I actually it's very warm, as you might imagine. It's a worsted weight wool, and I mostly use this when I go up to visit my mom in the winter, because we usually head outdoors for part of the time, and I just find this is a great layer under my coat because it has the turtleneck and it's nice and warm. I usually just put a light cotton t-shirt underneath it and put my coat on. But so that came in handy this week with our cold weather and all that snow, so I would put it on to go out shoveling and such. So seen a lot of wear this week. Thanks to the weather, which I'll get to. So as I mentioned, I actually did some cross stitch this week. I was watching Lisa from the 90% Knitting podcast earlier this week, and she was talking about her embroidery. She's doing a sampler, a year-long sampler, putting all different embroidery stitches and little things she makes up. It's really looking very cool. I enjoy seeing her progress on it. Anyway, it got me thinking, I really, really want to cross stitch. And I believe it was Tuesday. It was very bright outside because it had stopped snowing and the sun was out, so the light was really good. And so I pulled out this project. I think I've had it going, it's probably close to 10 years. I bought the kit while I was still working at the Yarn and Needle Workshop. We'd been given a Christmas bonus, and I used part of that to buy this kit, and it really matched my house at the time. And good intentions, never got it done, never got it framed. Excuse me, I'll just grab it here. But as we're finishing our renovations downstairs, this actually will go quite nicely in my entranceway. I have a little round, a half semicircular table, little hall table, and I've always envisioned this above it, kind of looking like she's looking in the mirror. So as you can see, this is one of the gold collection from Dimensions. Kit number is 3823, and it's called Victorian Elegance. Let's see if I can bring it a little closer. It's very detailed. I have done a lot of the gold collection, or several, I should say, of the gold collection cross stitch. I really like how intricate they are, and they always have interesting stitches and sometimes the addition of beads, etc. So when I picked this up, I'd actually completed all the cross stitch on it. It was just some of the, and I'd actually finished the back stitch too. It was some of the embellishments that needed doing. So I took it off my frame just so I could show this to you more easily. So this is what I've got done. As you can see, it's just about finished. So the other day I added some French knots here and here, and then I did this couching, they call it, along the ribbon. There's a strand of this kind of rainbow floss, not floss exactly, they call it ribbon floss, I believe. And you lay it on top of where you want it. You bring it up at the one area and take it down here, and then you take just one strand of thread and you just tack it in place so it rides along the top of the fabric. It really outlines the ribbon here. It really accentuates it. And then I started putting on the beads. Oh, and the gold. So I added the gold for the hat pin. You may not be able to see that. There you go. And then the gold for the earring. And then the beading. So she has beautiful beaded earring here. And then as you can see, I've begun beading her lace bodice. And that carries on down through here and through here. So once the beading's done, and I was really hoping to get back to it this week, but it just did not happen. Once the beading's done, there's where these big flowers are on the hat. If you can see in here, there's actually some ribbon embroidery that's added all along the hat brim. Really makes it very three-dimensional. Now, I have not done ribbon embroidery before, so wish me luck. Hopefully it goes well and doesn't ruin the whole piece. My intention is to finish the beading on here, and then I'm going to wash it, and then I'll just add the embroidery at the ribbon embroidery at the end, and then I can get it framed, and it can go into our not yet newly completed foyer, but when it's done, it will find a place on the wall. So that's it for cross stitch. So I really hope I can get to it again this week and finish the beading, because it's so close to being finished. I can taste it. So I had hoped to have acquisitions to show you today, and then my shipping notice had said that my parcel would arrive today, but then when I checked it again, it had a new delivery date of Monday, and I thought, okay, that's probably due to our weather this week. I guess it's not going to be here. But lo and behold, maybe a half hour before I podcasted, there was a doorbell rang, and there was my parcel. So I get to show you. As you can tell, I don't purchase a lot of new yarn and such. I have a large stash. And unless I have, well, no, that's lying. Unless I have a specific project in mind, I don't buy it. That's not quite true. But I certainly purchase yarn a lot less than I used to. I'm really trying to make a point of knitting from stash as much as I can. But that doesn't mean I'm immune to new and beautiful things by any means. Anyway, I got started thinking about my socks for the March sock bash for the Grocery Girls podcast, and my birthday's in March, and I thought it might be fitting to knit some socks out of the Hedgehog Fibers colorway birthday cake. And I only own one skein of Hedgehog that I haven't knit with yet, so I tracked some down actually from a BC yarn store, which was really nice. It's called The Art of Yarn. It's in Kelowna, which is about 3.5 hours by highway from where I live in the Okanagan region of BC. You might be familiar with that name. They're really that area is really well known for its wines. So anyway, here's this beautiful skein. So I look forward to choosing a simple pattern for that. Well, fairly simple because it does have the speckling and the variegation. And knitting those up for March's sock bash, so stay tuned for that. And I'd actually ordered a set of mini skeins from Sweet Georgia Yarns, but it turned out they weren't in stock after all, and so I decided to purchase another skein of Hedgehog that I've been eyeing for a while, and it's the color called Monarch. Very pretty orangey peaches. This is really not my color scheme at all, but I'm finding more and more that I'm drawn to oranges and peachy colored things. I actually have a couple of fairly new skeins that have those types of colors in them, and I really have to knit them up. I've just been admiring them, I guess. And then I was surprised to see how well these two went together. I didn't buy them with that intention. So I might add maybe this color in for the heels and toes or something like that, because they do complement each other really well. But yeah, so that's my new yarn. And then of course when they offer, you know, free shipping with a certain dollar amount, it's tempting to bring your order up because you're going to pay a whole lot for shipping anyway. So something I've been thinking about for a long time is this gleaner. It's for removing pills on your knitted goods, fabrics. And I have a few sweater shavers that one used to work really well, and it's just not as effective anymore. I guess the blade has dulled. And when I do felted slippers, I'm having a hard time making them as smooth as I like to. And so I just thought I would try it. I mean, it was, I think, $19.99. Don't quote me, but I think it's like about $20 Canadian. So I thought it was worth the purchase, worth trying out. I've heard good things about it, and it has several different blades for different types of fabrics. So I'll definitely give it a try, and I'll let you know what I think once I've used it. Because as knitters, this is something you might be interested in too. There are a lot of beautiful yarns, but the nature of some of them is that they do pill with wearing. So it's nice to have something to help keep your hand knits looking nice for years. And then again, bring up the shipping. I just stocked up on some Eucalyptus wool wash. It's actually a much bigger bottle than I realized, but that's good. It'll last. I do a lot of washing with my, because we wear our hand knit socks a lot, so every week I'm doing a load of socks. So this will come in handy. So that's what I got this week. It's always fun. It never gets old for a package to arrive at the door. I can remember when I was a kid and my mom would get a parcel, and she'd you know, accept it at the door, and then she'd put it on the hall table, and she wouldn't open it. And it'd be like, don't you want to open your parcel? And, you know, she generally knew what was inside, and it wasn't pressing, and so she just opened it as needed. Where me, like, a parcel comes, even if I know what's in it, I want to open it. It's like getting a present, right? Anyway, what I'm reading, I'm just continuing with the 7 Dials Mystery by Agatha Christie. If you're a new viewer, working my way through my Agatha Christie collection in order of publication. This I think was number 10. And I've been really tired this week. Sounds like a theme because I said the same thing last week, but I try and get at least a chapter read each night. Sometimes I manage 2, but it's definitely taking me longer to get through this than I had anticipated. But I'm a little more than halfway. And it's starting to get exciting, so I'm looking forward to getting back to that. So that's it for the knitting and the cross stitch and acquisitions, etc. And it's time to talk a little bit about what's been going on this week here with me. Well, it's been crazy. If you watched last week's podcast, you saw that it was snowing quite hard last Saturday, and that continued throughout the night, and we woke up Sunday morning to about the official measurement is 77 centimeters or 30 inches of snow. Highly unusual for this area, as I've said. You're probably getting tired of me saying it, but it really is unusual for this area. So my husband and I had appointments to go get our hair cut, and it's in the same complex as our grocery store, so we were going to go get groceries and headed out. We weren't even sure if the hairdressers would be open or if our hairdresser would be there, but as it turned out, she was. But we got out of or came into the parking lot, and the entrances hadn't been plowed. And we proceeded to get stuck because my husband's car, the front end is fairly low. It's a Nissan Altima. And this is now 3 times he's gotten stuck this winter. Not because he doesn't have good snow tires, because he does, but just if the snow's too deep, he just, I guess, bottoms out. Is that the right word? So anyway, with some help of some kind people, they pushed us out, and actually about half the parking lot hadn't been cleared, which is highly unusual. Thankfully, the area by the grocery store had been. So anyway, our hairdresser was there. We did get our hair cut. We did get groceries, and then we came home and tucked in and enjoyed a fairly quiet Sunday at home. It was actually kind of cozy again. Of course, amid that is we had snow off and on, so it involved some shoveling, etc. You can't get away from that when you've had that much snow. And so then we had, off and on over the next couple of days, we did have more snow and the high winds again, and I believe the official total for the accumulation is about 90 centimeters or 3 feet. We live on the edge of a residential area that backs onto farmland. And we had the wind coming from the east and blowing wind off the fields into our backyard, as of course did our neighbors. So we actually had quite a bit more accumulation in our yard than 3 feet in the end. So what concerned us, me especially, I think, is that the weather reports were calling for freezing rain and then lots of rain. And in 2009, we had a really big snowfall followed by a lot of rain, and about 3/4 of our backyard was covered in water. And with almost twice as much snow, I was quite concerned that we were going to be facing some flooding. If the snow melted very quickly, of course the ground's frozen, and there's nowhere for it to go but up. So I had this brilliant idea that I was going to dig a trench or a ditch through the snow through our backyard. It's about, I asked my husband last night how far he thought it was, and he thinks it's about 90 feet, I think he said. So it's a ways. And so that was my project for Tuesday and Wednesday, and I did it the width of a shovel, snow shovel, and ended up digging out this big, what I called my trench through the backyard, just in case. I wanted there to be somewhere for the water to go, and I wanted it to be able to flow downhill. So as it turned out, we did get freezing rain quite badly overnight on Wednesday night. We woke up to ice coating everything. All the wires, the trees, our cars, the house. The whole east side of our house was one big icicle. And it wasn't even until this morning that the windows that we couldn't reach to break the ice off actually had the ice melted off them. When we went to bed last night, our bedroom window was still completely covered in ice. We couldn't see out it. It's cool, but at the same time, of course, it's destructive. We had, there's quite a few trees around that have lost branches, or there's one tree that's a couple doors over from us that's gone from straight up to slanting like this. And there's a tree in the backyard, or back behind our backyard, that has had some branches broken off, as did our next door neighbor in the front yard. And then actually our drywaller came in today, and he said that last night the roof on his back deck collapsed from the weight of all the snow and ice. So even though it can be actually really beautiful, it's also very destructive. So the good news in all that is that the heavy rain warning was lifted, and now there's only showers predicted for the next couple of days with some sunshine to follow. So we're going to end up with a much slower melt than was originally anticipated, and that is good news. So the storm drains will be able to handle the volume, and our backyard should fare just fine. There's no sign of any accumulation of water back there at all right now. So we had one flood earlier this year, which happened on the inside of the house. We just certainly didn't need another one coming in from outside, so I'm very relieved. I'll maybe put some pictures in at the end of the podcast. If you're interested, you can check them out. I have a short video of just the wind whipping across our backyard. I think it was Tuesday morning. But then that turned out to be a beautiful sunny day, and I have a really lovely picture of our mountains that we see through from the back of our house. We look onto some beautiful mountains. So I have a lovely picture from there, and I'll include a few pictures of the ice, etc. So if you're interested, you can check those out at the end. So speaking of floods and such, we're still recovering, if you will, from a flood that we had before Christmas. A water hose had come detached, and we had about an inch of water through most of our downstairs about a week before Christmas. Great timing. But slowly but surely we're getting things done. We decided to take that opportunity while all the flooring and such was ripped off to move a couple walls and reconfigure our floor plan in one part of our basement. And so last week, I think when I talked to you, the framing and the drywall, framing had been done, the drywall had been hung. And this week we've had the drywallers in doing the mudding and taping. And they were here today, and then their last day they're going to be here is coming back Monday, so they should finish off then. And then I can start painting. And then now that we have a date set for that, the rest of the repairs and replacement has had a date set for it. It's been scheduled for early March, so we're going to be extremely busy, or with people coming in and out for about a week. But at the end of it, we'll have new floors, and our baseboards and casings will all be replaced, and we'll be able to move back into those rooms that we haven't been able to use for a couple of months now. Yeah, I guess, yeah. By the time we're done, it'll be over 2 months, probably 2.5 months, that those rooms will have been basically unoccupied and useless to us. But they'll be better than ever, so it's nice to have a end date in sight now. I must say I'm kind of tired of living like this, but trying to make the best of it too. So we had our I think it was in November, our washing machine quit and we had to replace it. And then this flood happened just before Christmas, and then you're always asking yourself, okay, what's the third thing? Because bad things always happen in threes, right? So then a couple of days ago, my husband was driving along the freeway heading into to work, and his front left tire blew, and he said there was nowhere to pull out on the side of the road because all the the shoulders were covered in snow. He didn't want to block one of the lanes on the freeway, so he would manage to limp his way off on the next freeway exit and changed to his spare tire, and then had to get to new tires to replace it. So we're hoping, knock wood, that that's the third thing, because in the scheme of things it wasn't so bad and it wasn't so expensive. Got a good deal on his tires, and yeah. Now that the prospect of flooding has diminished, I'm just hoping that's number 3, and that we can maybe get back to a more even keel of life. So with the snow this week, there were a lot of things canceled. School was only in session on Wednesday. Kids were all out the other 4 days this week. I was supposed to curl on Monday night, and that got canceled, which I didn't mind too much, to be perfectly honest. I was quite happy to stay at home. And we were supposed to play volleyball with friends Tuesday night, and since the school was closed, the gym that we used for that was also closed. So some of us went out for dinner and just had a really nice evening and good visit that way. So that wasn't too bad. And then last night, Thursday, is normally the night I curl with my own team. And as it was, we already... our own game had been forfeited by the other team, so we weren't going anyway. And then, as it turns out, the whole curling last night was canceled anyway. So I've gotten plenty of exercise thanks to all the shoveling I've been doing. Oh, and I have been sticking with my classical stretch health 30-day health challenge. I think today's day 26. I haven't worked out yet, but I'll do that while the podcast is uploading. So yay me! I've never successfully completed one of these before, and so I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. And even days when I've felt really tired, I've made myself do my workout, and actually I think that's really helped me to not be all stiff and sore from the amount of shoveling I've been doing this past week. So that's good. What's coming up this week? Well, in British Columbia this week, it's Family Day on Monday. So my husband's not working tomorrow, so he has a 3-day weekend, which is really nice. We'll have some running around, some jobs that need to be done, and then the drywallers are coming back on Monday to finish up. But other than that, we should be able to have a fair bit of downtime. That'll be nice. I know he's having a not very good day at work today, and I think we're both really looking forward to our Friday night appy night, which is when we kick back with a bottle of nice wine and have appies for dinner. And it's nice knowing there's nothing really pressing to be done this weekend, other than a few. I know we'll do some more shoveling, clear out our driveway some more, and the snow drifts from where the snow plows plowed in front of our house, and make sure the drain a couple doors down is open so that, you know, as the snow melts, things are taken care of really well. But a little bit of running around, but other than that, it should be a pretty nice, relaxing weekend. So I'm hoping to get lots of knitting done and maybe even finish up the beading on my cross stitch. That would be great. We're going to a hockey game on Saturday night. Where I live has a junior A hockey team, so we're going to go see them play Saturday night, and I think that's about it. So looking forward to that, having a down day before next week, because that'll be busy again. Once the drywall is done, then I can start painting. So I expect that when I talk to you, hopefully in a week's time, that I've gotten a fair bit of the painting done and get started on the road to getting back to normal around here. So once again, thank you for watching. I appreciate the time you spend with me each week, and happy knitting. Have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Look at the wind.